Namaskar. Good morning to all. This is a solo edition of Daily Global Insights with the indomitable Sree locked up or tied up in a very busy engagement. Namaskar to all. Welcome to Daily Global episode 291. A shout out to all of viewers to like this program so it can reach its maximum potential. Today is Tuesday, December 7th, and we kick off with a very important announcement made by President Biden yesterday. U.S. announces diplomatic boycott of Winter Olympics over human rights abuses, and many nations may follow suit. This was expected. This has been brewing for some time. There is some mechanism by which United States and parts of the world needed to demonstrate to the Chinese that they are not going to accept and tolerate as to what is going on in Uyghur or in the Xinjiang province. So U.S. has made the first official announcement. I know UK and few EU nations have been discussing, and we'll begin to see more nations probably follow suit following the footsteps of United States. Of course, the Chinese have rebutted and saying that this violates the tenets and the principles of the spirit of the Olympic Games, and so therefore there would be appropriate rebuttals and actions that follow. I am sure that they're going to make enough noise because boycotting Olympics is not a very trivial issue. If you recall, something like this happened in 1980 Moscow Olympics as well. The second policy action that we may begin to see emerge is around Russia. U.S. and President Biden and Vladimir Putin are expected to, have a virtual summit today, Tuesday, and they will be discussing a number of issues ranging from Afghanistan and the security issues around Ukraine. The infiltrations that's happening and potential problems around Belarus, etc. The message that is coming out is whether that will be executed remains to be seen, that Mr. Biden is expected to be very strong and very firm in making his case that if there are any issues or any violations, any incursions into Ukraine, then Mr. Putin and Russia will be met with stern sanctions and actions. Thus far, that language has not been used by Mr. Biden, but we have seen it now with the boycott of the Olympics, Winter Olympics to China. I think that this could very well be the case as far as Russia is concerned. As far as the COVID, Omicron, which is making its rapid footprint around the world and cases steadily rising, we had a very controversial or a very interesting statement coming out from the epidemiologist in Yale University, Dr. Harvey Risch. Dr. Harvey Risch says that this whole COVID is a pandemic of fear-mongering manufactured by authorities, and this will be dispensed and treated like any other virus. Already we have news coming out that this is going to be with us almost, as part of our ecosystem, just as if you are in the United States or if you are in any of the countries which have this winter flu virus season. We all go through the regular vaccination program, pre-winter, pre-spring, etc. So I think that this seems like emerging like the same scenario here. To add, to further travails, the president of Moderna has announced that none of the existing vaccines can combat this Omicron, and you probably need a new protocol because the multiple mutation variation can easily penetrate through the current what you call immunology protocols. Having said that, there's also some good news announced, so positive news announced by Dr. Fauci yesterday, who made the statement that, this is not as severe and as complicated as the prior. So this will come through. The current people will be able to resist. Those who are fully vaccinated, that's his statement. And based on the initial data that the CDC is seeing in United States, so the vaccine can be, the virus can be dealt with, adequately. That's his statement. So you can see that why there is, fear amongst the minds of the people, namely to say, what exactly is the clear message here, and whether we vaccinate, not vaccinate, follow the protocols, don't follow the protocols. How do we respond? Are we better off to be where we are rather than go through this iterative cycles of vaccine 1, vaccine 2, booster dose, and probably another dose coming up probably in early next year. So that's on the Omicron situation. If you all recall that we have covered this in Daily Global Insights, that there has been a series of vaccine mandates that Biden had kind of imposed in various states that to follow from state to the private sector. I think the private sector kicks off around, if I'm correct, December 22nd, December 27th. The OSHA, which we covered yesterday, was declined by the Sixth Circuit Court. But most of the state courts are also handing defeat to Mr. Biden to say that the vaccine mandates are not valid. There's maybe some testimony to what the courts are saying, because if you recall, notably Texas and Florida, which didn't have the vaccine mandates, which didn't have the mask mandates, the cases rose up to almost close to between 600 to 1 million, notably in Florida. And today, when you look at the active cases across United States, again, we covered this data. I'm just recapping it. There's less than about 50,000 cases, active cases in Texas, and something similar or even smaller number in Florida, which effectively says that, if people take adequate precautions, that one can deal with it. I'm not prescribing or I'm not suggesting don't follow. As I mentioned, I myself is fully vaccinated. So I think that people have to follow the due protocols, but mandating it without giving the choice doesn't seem to be, getting the adequate support of the court system. Obviously, DOJ will, Department of Justice will contest it. Moving to the next item, which is again surfacing as we approach the 2022, as the world plans, the United States plan, not the world, the United States plans for the 2022 elections. The Michigan voter rolls apparently was filled with almost 26,000 dead registrants. Okay, dead people. Remember, in Nevada, dead people voted. In Arizona, dead people voted. Probably, they're coming out of their graves and registering themselves, and they probably pop up. So you have this issue is going to how they're going to normalize this or dedupe or normalize the voter registration rolls is an interesting contest that we will begin to see as January kicks in. Also, the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas because this is another ritual that goes on, redistricting the House districts so that it tilts in favor of one party over the other. If you are a Republican, then you'll do the redistricting to make sure that you get the maximum benefit, and you always come up with a logic. And if you're a Democrat, then you do the redistricting to see that you get the maximization. So therefore, there's a redistricting that's going on in Texas to make sure that there is some preservation. I mean, Texas and Florida have seen maximum number of what you call migration coming from the other states. So whether that's one of the catalysts remains to be seen, but there is this redistricting that is going on so this is within the context of what is to come very soon. Then the next item that we look at, which is Janet Yellen talked about we could run out of the money. We're not going to be here till February 18th. We could be defaulting because we are quickly catching up with the debt limits. Recall, we are going to do an extensive coverage, dedicated coverage on a fireside chat around where the US stands with its debt, as well as the various programs, the COVID and stimulus programs, COVID-related stimulus programs, as well as the economic austerity programs, basically, and what that is doing to the overall US debt. So the US debt limit needs to be increased from the $26 trillion to about 31, 32. They got a temporary respite, which goes on till, it's called as the continuous reconciliation till about February 18th. But Janet Yellen is saying that that doesn't hold, and we could be running out very soon, as early as last week of December. So the Democrats are eyeing what we call as which, a one-off reconciliation bill. That one-off reconciliation bill will help them to tie probably. They have to also pass the defense bill, they call as the Armed Services Amendment bill. So that they have to pass, and they're trying to add this one-time ceiling without the effect of a filibuster, because you can pass that bill without the filibuster. So they want to tag the debt limit to it. Probably, they may get some support. This is within the House, and then they send it to the Senate. Then you need a very simple 51 majority without an elaborate discussion. So they're trying to get past. Fortunately, they are not adding any amnesty and illegal aliens and other kinds of conditions. So this may see the light, and at least the sovereign, credibility of the United States will be maintained, and it will begin to meet its debt obligations to the external borrowers. Moving to the India situation. Everybody is aware that there are two simultaneous meetings. Vladimir Putin was Monday in transit with Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, and the defense minister. So it looks like that there was a joint statement issued by Prime Minister Modi and Russia, Vladimir Putin, affirming their long-standing relationship and agreeing to partner and work together in a seamless manner. Obviously, there were several items, but the key items that was of focus was the issues and the security around Afghanistan, UN Security Council reforms, and that implies that to accommodate India into United Nations Security Council, and bilateral trade. Russia is one country which was not mentioned by Mr. Goyal, who has been advocating the bilateral trade agreements. There's a bilateral trade agreement with the United States, there's a bilateral trade agreement with Israel, bilateral trade agreement with UAE, bilateral trade agreement with EU, and bilateral trade agreement that is going on with UK, etc. So Russia is now suggesting that there has to be a bilateral trade agreement, and I think Modi and Mr. Putin agree that the target trade should be around $25 to $30 billion by 2025. Obviously, defense is one of the biggest areas that number one defense supplier to India is Russia. Russian president also pointed out in the same press conference that he has very deep concerns as to what is happening around the security situation in Afghanistan, and he would be supportive and collaborative with India in its efforts. This is one of the most important statements that is coming out. That means India seems to have support of Russia, seems to have support of UK, EU, and US. So how that translates into specific activities within Afghanistan remains to be seen. I think also Russia is concerned about this, into its own region, plus also filtering into the Central Asian republics. So that's another positive statement that is coming out. The Foreign Secretary of India, Mr. Harsh Shringla, confirms that the S-400 shipments continue, and India continues to receive, and it is being integrated into the defense weaponry of India, probably in the western as well as up in the northern sector. There was much commotion whether this will happen or not happen. There was also commotion around whether India will be subjected to sanctions, and there's imminent sanctions India has made it very clear this is about the sovereign security of India, especially as it faces threats from two important nations, China and Pakistan. My view is that I have stated this: United States may waive, given the common thread of China and given what is going on. And there is also the trade secretary was most recently in India trying to do the bilateral extension of the bilateral trade and trying to get access and more market access and more transparency around some of the retrospective taxation and other tariffs. So I think the water will be under the bridge very soon around this S-400, and it may become part of the ecosystem. Whether there is any conflicting or adjacent weaponry that United States imports or exports to India remains a question. But thus far, US has supplied most of the weaponry around either the drones or the surveillance in the naval area, or sharing intelligence and other types of weaponry and access mechanisms. United States has continued to support India in its endeavors to defend itself. Then, this you would expect, because it seems like Russia wants to have a similar kind of a status to United States, Japan, Australia. These are the Quad nations. Surprise, surprise, there's no surprise. So Russia and India kick off a 2+2 dialogue. As you all know, 2+2 dialogue entails defense and foreign relations or foreign secretaries. So therefore, they jointly conduct meetings, which combines diplomatic as well as the security aspects. So Russia-India 2+ dialogue kicked off, and if one had seen the camaraderie or friendship or warmth with which the Indian Minister for External Affairs and the Russian Foreign Secretary Lazarov, shook hands or fisted, and it just shows that there is a very strong bondage between the two nations. Then the other thing that is important to note is that Russia made it a point, Vladimir Putin made it a point to mention that there's a long-standing relationship between India and Russia. And Russia views India as a trusted and a strategic partner, and this is historical, and they continue to affirm and value that. There are at least 6 to 7 or possibly 10 areas where they are looking at exploration, from space to cyber to military to other domains to participate and coordinate their efforts. So that's on the Russia-India dialogue, which is a precursor to what is going to happen today between US and Russia. Coming to the COVID situation, India continues to see rise in cases, and most of the cases are rising as a result of the incoming passengers from some of the African countries being detected. And at least based on the initial data, the number seems to be less than 20. There seems to be adequate quarantine protocols based on the Indian Health Ministry to deal with this should this explode, as it happened in February, March earlier in 2021. There's also an incident in Bangalore in Karnataka where at least 10 people from South Africa who came in were supposed to be in quarantine seems to have escaped. This again, we have seen in the past. People are reluctant to be put into quarantine centers and subjected to the due protocols, which is warranted. But some people take it, some people don't take it or don't like it, and I think that eventually, I'm sure that they will be located and quarantined before they cause any issues. So that is around the situation around the COVID. The new Naval Secretary has taken charge, or a new, not the Naval Chief for India has taken charge. Mr. Vice Admiral or Admiral Mr. Hari And he says that India is well positioned. It's keeping a close eye on China in the Indian Ocean. The integrated command structure that they have now in place for Navy helps them to address any potential issues that emerge out of Chinese threat, specifically around the Indian Ocean. Again, we covered this. You are beginning to see China now footprint, not just around South China Sea, East China Sea, Taiwan Strait, Pacific, but it is now extending its tentacles all around the place, both land, air, as well as water. There is, again, coming to the 3I region, again, we had flashpoints again yesterday. There is alleged airstrikes by Israeli Air Force, and they targeted the port, the Latakia port in Syria. And one could see, if you can see the videos, you can see the videos on the YouTube. You can see fire emanating from the specific port, and Syria responds by saying that it is not going to keep quiet. It will respond with appropriate action. Israeli Air Force has not, or IDF has not confirmed that it was behind it, but it is alleged that they are behind this attack, probably as a deterrent measure. You saw something similar happened in Lebanon as well. And usually these are the places from where, you have these rocket launchers or drones or any of these things emanating. Syria also informed Iran that it is not going to keep quiet and it will respond. So this is on the one side. Then you have the other side, which is not too far, is Yemen. The rockets fired from Yemen by the Houthi rebels, which is the Iranian-backed, was intercepted by, their target was Riyadh, was intercepted by the Saudi forces and repelled. So this West Asia or Middle East, West Asia is the most appropriate word, continues to be a flashpoint on one side while they try to continue to work trade and economic dialogue and see whether they can shift their attention to more things that are material to the welfare and the development of the population in that specific region rather than persistent and constant war. Hopefully, we'll see some light at the end of the tunnel in the near future. Coming again to Iran, the only nation which is trying to seek and get the attention of Iranians to get them back to the negotiating table is Germany. So Germany says that it's time that Iran comes with more specific and tangible proposals to the IAEA and to the P5 nations so that a dialogue can resume and a resolution can be reached on the uranium enrichment and the lifting of the sanctions. Whether the Iranians will listen to the Germans begs the question, but at least the German contingent is making a statement to the Iranians. Ukraine, this is another flashpoint within Europe. Ukraine says that it has got all this gadgetry from United States. It shows off its wares and says that very similar to Taiwan. It says, hey, I can now defend myself in the event of an attack from the Russians. Of course, you can defend yourself, but war is a calamity. But they're just trying to say they are now in a state of preparedness with new machinery and with new armory at their disposal, obviously supplied by United States. EU says at this stage, coming to the COVID situation, because one of the continents which is adversely impacted by the COVID or the rising cases is the European Union. We had shared with you the data, the 8 out of the top 10 nations, which is showing rise in active cases are from Europe. Of course, Russia and United Kingdom top the list, and then Germany and Netherlands and Poland and etc. The other countries are not too far behind, with number of cases rising to 400 to 500,000 active cases. So therefore, EU says at this stage, it has no plans to lift the travel bans to South Africa. it's very interesting that they have focused on South Africa. Is obviously data-based. Whether the data is accurate or not, one never knows, but South Africa seems to have been the target in this focus in this instance, in terms of lifting, forcing sanctions and containing and quarantining and putting adequate tests in case for the people who have come in. But it seems like they want to put the travel restrictions. It's not just South Africa. There's about 8, 9 other nations which have also been added to the list. So that brings us to the geopolitical as well as some of the news related to COVID. Getting back to markets, as we have said, the markets are a gyration of human sentiments. And December 1st, 3 days saw the kickoff. So yesterday the markets went up again, getting past COVID and getting past the inflation. So the Dow was up 1.87%, S&P was up around 1.1%, and Nasdaq was up around 0.97%, giving a big thumbs up to the markets. As we came into the show, the DGI show, markets were again up about 300 points on Dow and S&P pointing a higher number, expressing the positive sentiments that the COVID is not as alarming as is. The interest rates continue to remain fairly in the contained territory. They are not gone to 2%. They are still 1.4%, and they dipped from 1.67% to 1.4%. Obviously, there has been some relief, albeit temporary, on the gas stations around the oil prices. But having said that, when the markets went up, the oil prices also breached the $70 barrier yesterday. The effects of that we will begin to see in probably a week or so later. So the oil rose more than 1% to $70.20, and the Brent went to $73.66. The 10-year US Treasury was at 1.44%. And our famous crypto, Bitcoin, as we speak, is around $52,000, and what is our Ethereum is around the $4,300 to $4,400 mark, almost catching up with $4,500 when they went into the $3,940 territory. As we summarize, markets, as I have been saying, in December will finish favorably. One headwind may be that debt limit, that I think they will probably get past that. The other could be the news that is likely to come out from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell on the interest rates and whether he's going to accelerate the interest rates just as they were accelerating the roll down of the asset purchases or bond purchases program. So those are the two, but I think the markets will finish as we have consistently maintained throughout this year. 2021 will be a golden year for the equity markets, and 26-27% for S&P and close to 18 to 20% for Dow, and somewhere in the same vicinity for Nasdaq means that the markets have those who have invested in the markets have reaped the benefit. Similarly, I think if you have been in oil markets, we have gone from $45 to about $70 a barrel. The interest rates have jumped from around 48 basis points to about 1.5. So you have seen a consistent movement reflecting the sentiments around the economy is coming back and overcoming any potential headwinds from the COVID situation. Once the interest rates begin to go up, we'll begin to see what is to unfold as we step into 2022. Okay, with that, we wrap up. Thank you so much once again. We thank you all for your support to PGurus channel. We thank you all for your support to the DGI program. We'd like you to continue to support and sponsor. And as Sree IRG would say, please continue to press the like button. The more likes that you have, that is better from the perspective of the the socialization and the advocacy of the PGuru programs across various platforms. We are always reliant on sponsorship, and sponsorship drives the economic performance and the upliftment of the channel. So thank you. Wonderful. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you once again tomorrow morning.